and happy Tuesday night. Welcome everyone to our live episode of Season's Sunflower Hour, and welcome to the Sunflower family. If you are new, welcome. We are so happy you are a part of our family now. And if you haven't done it already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can stay up to date on all of the live episodes, because we have so many great guests and we want you to be here and join us for all those episodes. So make sure you follow, like, share, do all the things. I love that people are already commenting, tuning in, saying hello. A big hi to all of you. Thanks for joining us. And guys, let us know, you know how much I love this. Let us know where you're tuning in from, because I get so excited to see who is watching the show from what part of the world. It is so much fun because we have an international poll here, which I love. Everyone's part of the Sunflower Hour family. And guys, happy May, happy ALS Awareness Month, and to all the mamas out there, the mamas, the grandmamas, happy Mother's Day. I hope you all had a very beautiful weekend. If you want, feel free to also comment and let us know what you did for Mother's Day or how the beginning of your May is going. So happy to watch another exciting show. Well, you know what? We are so happy to have another exciting show. So thanks for tuning in. Scott is in the house tonight. I'm so excited. And a quick shout out to Scott Marcel. He is watching. I know that you are getting married, my friend, at the end of the month. You have been on the show before. We love you so much. Shout out to you and your future, very, very soon to be bride-to-be. Congratulations to both of you. Guys, I want to jump right into this because we have such a great show tonight. So without further ado, I do want to begin by saying that Sunflower Hour, May 25th is the date of the wedding. So again, congratulations. You guys are going to have a perfect day. I just know it, and I can't wait to see all those beautiful photos. Now, Sunflower Hour has brought so many amazing people into my life. I am so grateful for this show and all the incredible people that I've got to meet through it. And tonight's guests are just another shining example of incredible people that have come in to my world because of this show. Now, I was sent an article about a 13-year-old boy who created a podcast to discuss what it's like for children dealing with an ALS diagnosis in the family. Let me just say that again. He was 13 years old diving into this topic. Now, just reading about Ronan just absolutely blew me away. He is so wise beyond his years, so wise. And he has this amazing, undeniable presence that just pulls you right on in. You just want to fall in love with him. And let me tell you, the more I got to learn about his family, I quickly learned that the apple does not fall far from the tree. It turns out that Ronan is from an entire family of exceptional individuals. He is just one of many. They're a family that lives, loves, and laughs to the absolute fullest. Together, with his mom and his brother, they continue to honor his dad's memory. Ronan lost his dad to ALS very recently, and they continue the fight in his honor, and they continue the fight so that nobody else has to go through what they went through. They're there with us with ALS United, trying to make sure that we get to a cure so that nobody has to have this kind of experience in their life. We love them so much for this. They're incredible ALS advocates. So here to share their story and to tell us about how they keep their husband and their father's memory alive, please welcome incredible ALS advocates and podcast superstar, Ronan and his beautiful mother, Siobhan. Hi, guys.
Hi, Season.
Thank you so much for coming on. I am so excited to have you here. And I love the power of social media here because we have not had the pleasure of getting to meet in person. And it was literally from someone sending me an article, getting to read about the amazing things that you were doing, Ronan, finding you on social media, reaching out, and then here we are. I think that is so awesome. So thank you guys for taking the time, coming on, and just spreading your love and light. I'm so excited for everybody watching to get to meet the two of you and to get to learn your story and fall in love with you just like I did.
Thank you. We're so happy to be here. Like you said, it's about, sharing the stories. It's about supporting one another, and most importantly about raising awareness. So, just being just having the opportunity to have this platform to tell our story and hopefully inspire and help others is just so important to us. So thank you.
Oh, of course. I'm telling you, this is absolutely the highlight of my life. So I love being the teeniest, tiniest part and getting to help you share the story, which is so awesome. But before we dive in though, it was Mother's Day over the weekend. So happy Mother's Day to you, Siobhan. You've got beautiful, beautiful boys. Did you do anything special? Any exciting weekend plans with your guys?
So we spent the weekend kind of just chilling because normally our day-to-day is very busy with school and work and activities. And so we wanted to actually just have a weekend that was kind of snuggling on the sofa, watching TV. I woke up to the boys making me some Nutella crepes, which were super yummy. And then they both gave me these amazing handmade gifts. So Ronan did this kind of sunset picture with diamond art, and I think his hand is still suffering for it. And then Keaton made me a bouquet of flowers on the Cricut machine. So it's made out of card, but it's a bouquet of flowers with roses in different colors that will last forever. So both of the gifts were just super creative and super special. And so that was really, for me, the perfect Mother's Day.
That is absolutely perfect. You've got some super talented boys.
Yes, yes. Fortunately, they have lots of good ideas, and they're really good when it comes to the execution part too.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Ronan, you just have the biggest, the sweetest heart. I just love you. That was so sweet that you and your brother did that for your mama. Well, Ronan, what do you love? I mean, I'm sure there's a very long list, but if you had to pick one or two, what do you love most about your mom?
So there are a lot of things I love about my mom, like how she's always there for me and she always helps me for my homework. But the thing I love the most about her is probably how she's always making the right decisions for me. Like she'll make the decisions even though I don't want to, but she's right.
I love this so much.
Record this.
I was just going to say, we have this on video evidence now. So Ronan, I think you are one of the only people in the entire world that has ever said that. I love it so much. And now you can never change your mind because you are on record saying this. I love this. I hope my mom is tuning in. I know she is. And I bet she's saying, I wish my daughter would say that. You are fantastic, little man. Oh, I'm going to flip and ask you that question because, Siobhan, I know you're a proud mama, and I could just hear it in your voice when you were telling me about your boys when we got to talk earlier. But what is maybe one quality that you admire most about your boys?
They're both very different in their personality. I think the one thing I have always admired about Ronan is just where his ability to step up to the plate. You know, we'll talk further about kind of our story with my husband and ALS. But the one thing that I noticed about Ronan was whenever we asked him to help with his dad, you know, he unequivocally was like, yes. It didn't matter where he was, whether it was coming home from a birthday party early or whether it was, you know, missing out on something at school or missing out on something with his friends. He was always willing to step up because if it came to his dad, like that was the number one priority. So, you know, at the age of 8, 9, 10, 11, just to have that kind of caring and empathy is just one of my favorite qualities in Ronan. I think when it comes to Keaton, who is a little bit more shy, which is why he's not on this podcast, is with him, it's just his creativity. Like he has ideas for everything. So sometimes when I'm stuck at something, Keaton will come up with that idea. He'll problem solve, he'll fix things. So he's like our chef, our handyman, our problem solver. He does a little bit of everything. And so kind of having, you know, when you've got somebody that's mature and then you've got somebody that's a great problem solver, just very blessed to have two amazing boys.
It's the perfect team. You guys literally are. Yeah. You are the perfect team. And you know what? That makes so much sense. As the story unfolds, guys, tonight, you'll understand what I'm saying. But talking to you and just hearing, like you said, what you guys have accomplished and what you've done as a family, that makes perfect sense now. Because, yeah, you guys are the perfect team. You all complement each other in the exact right ways. It's beautiful. Yep. Well, I don't know if you're seeing these comments chiming in, but Ronan, the boys are loving you. All the boys are saying how they can't believe at such a young age you've already got it figured out. That the women are always right, the moms, the wives, always right, and you have already learned that. So I love this. See, I knew you guys would all fall in love with this family right off the bat. It's already happening. We're only a couple minutes in. Well, you guys wait until you hear more of the story because you will just adore them more and more. And now, as we're saying, your boys and you, all of you, you're so accomplished, and we'll really dive into some of the things you've done a little bit later in the show. But of the many things you've done, of the many roles you've taken on, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, at least from my perspective, I think one of the most amazing, and I hope one of your favorite roles, has been becoming sort of an ALS advocate. So as we talk tonight, we're kind of going to go through that journey, find out why it's so important to you, what it means to you to be an ALS advocate. So let's dive into that, because your life's changed in a really, really big way. You, this amazing, incredible family unit, you were having this just great time in life, and then all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, in October of 2014, Ronan, your dad, Ron, your husband, Rupesh, was diagnosed with ALS, and everyone watching, we all know what that means, and that is awful. So I hear that he was a superstar husband. He was a superstar dad. For all of us that hadn't had the honor to get to meet him, can you guys tell me a little bit about Rupesh?
You want to start?
Yeah, he was an amazing dad, and he was a great person. And he would always, like help me with the parts of my work that I couldn't get help from anybody else with. And he just loved me, and I loved him, and we both shared a lot of common interests. Like, we both love each other. We both love the same sports teams. We both love doing the same things. So, he was a really great person.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I mean, I think if there was a few words to describe Rupesh, then we'd probably say the lover of life. Even before he ever knew that he had ALS, he was just the type of person that was like, you need to enjoy life, right? You need to take it with both arms and just do what makes you happy. So whether that means traveling, whether that means spending time with your loved ones, whether it means taking risks and jumping out of a plane, which he did a couple of times, luckily before I knew him, and so he was just enjoying life was what made him happy. And the great thing was that he continued with that same mindset, that same attitude when he got sick, which was that, this is still my life, and I still have one life to live, so I'm going to live it. And that was probably our favorite thing, was that when he got diagnosed, obviously it was hard for every one of us, and it's never going to be as hard for us as it was for him. But he was the one that right from the get-go was like, we're going to fight this, and if we can't win, then we're going to make the best of it. And so, when you have somebody that is going through everything they go through physically and mentally with ALS, still be able to have that type of mindset, you can't have anything but a positive mindset, and you can't do anything but support them and make sure that every dream that they have comes true in that short span. So having him kind of be the anchor for us rather than the other way around was what made him such an amazing person, was that even throughout his time with ALS, he was trying to help others as well. And so that's kind of like, he's the lover of life, and he is the friend to all. Like, if he met you today, he'd, probably be winking at you and probably be smiling and, probably be like, so give me your number. He was very much that type of, guy. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved him.
I love that. I know I would have absolutely fallen in love with him too, because again, like I said, apple not far from the tree. You two, I feel that you two have that same spirit, which I think is so beautiful. I would say a lot of those same things about you. So it was definitely contagious. Is that one of the things that you fell in love with first about him? Did you feel that right away? Just his warmth and his love of life and all those beautiful things?
Absolutely. I'm probably a bit more risk averse, whereas Roop was all about taking the risks. So it was a good balance. And so he was always, he always made me do things that maybe I wouldn't normally do. And so that's what I loved about him, was he took me out of my comfort zone. I would sometimes, take him out of his. And so just, having that balance in a relationship is always important. But we were both good at the right things, and we both supported each other with each of our own things. But, and separately we were great, but together we were, kind of, I always say, a force to be reckoned with. And, we realized this, I've told you the story, is that we actually lost our firstborn in 2009 in a kind of 1 in a million umbilical cord accident. And it was that moment where, we kind of looked at each other and we're like, what are we going to do? And, first thing was we're going to be the best parents we can be while he's here. And then secondly, we are going to get through this. Like, we are going to be so strong together. And from that moment on, we kind of knew that, like, this is it, no matter what comes our way. And, unfortunately, it was going to be ALS later on, that we were going to handle together.
You just have such a beautiful spirit. I was even telling this story this morning when I was talking to Sam. You have gone through some things in life that are unimaginable. And I was bawling. When you were actually telling me that story, I was crying. I was sitting on my porch crying. And you were so composed and you just held it together. And I feel that. I think to go through things like that, it can easily divide people. And it didn't do that for you and Roop. It brought you guys together. And yeah, I see it. I see that force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. And even now with you and your boys, I would say the same thing again about you guys. I think you are just this force as a family, this ALS advocacy force to be reckoned with. Like, you are out there, you are shouting it from the rooftops, you are making people listen, and you are coming up with some really creative ways to get the story out there, which is also another one of the long lists of things I love about you guys. And like I said, guys, I keep saying it. I promise we will get to it. We will get to all of these incredible things as the night unfolds. But I still want to talk about Root for a second. So Ronan, do you have a favorite memory of your dad?
So I've shared a lot of memories with him, like going to concerts and games and even the Super Bowl. But one of my favorite memories with him was 2 days before he went into the hospital, which was 4 days before he passed. We went to the Lakers-Mavs game in Dallas. And right after the game was over, he wanted to go down to court level to meet the players. And none of us thought it was going to work. But my mom talked to the agents and she did her magic. And we ended up going down there and meeting LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Anthony Davis, the Lakers general manager. And so we met a lot of other people, but it was amazing to see all these players who were, some of my favorites to play the game and also some of my idols.
Oh my God. See, force to be reckoned with. There is absolutely no stopping your mama when she wants something. I love this. I think we have we do. I think we have a photo of this. Is this the game? Is this the Lakers game?
And if you actually look at Roop's face, like, his eyes are super wide, because I think even he was like, we can go down there. Maybe we'll, catch kind of, some of the players, like maybe not the big names. But when these guys came out, and Roop made sure we stayed right till the end, like he was not leaving until they were closing the place down. But when we saw them come out and them take the time to stand there and take the picture, like, you can see from his face, it's like joy and disbelief, because I think he was just like, oh my God, it's happening. And the funny thing was, because two of us were wearing Mavs jerseys and the other two Lakers, so LeBron James actually said to Anthony Davis, he's like, dude, I'm going to be on this side with these guys. And so it just made Roop so happy, because he went and stood behind, obviously, Roop and Ronan, and then Anthony Davis is behind Keaton and I.
I love this. You guys all look so happy. Was that one of those bucket list moments?
Yes.
For your dad? Yeah. Did you have any other of those crazy? Like you said, he lived life already to the fullest. So I can only imagine. But after that ALS diagnosis came, and you know that you have sort of this horrible thing hanging over your head, did he? I don't know. Can you even live to a fuller degree than what he lived? Did he make any of his bucket list items come true during that time?
I think the biggest one was probably the Super Bowl. So, when we kind of saw his health deteriorating, I kind of made the decision and was like, okay, I know he's always wanted to go to the Super Bowl. He's never been. And so I want to make this happen. So I actually got in touch with the organization that partners with the NFL and talked to them about, like, would this be possible? Is there handicap seats? And, all the challenges that go with somebody that has ALS. And they were wonderful. They were kind of like, the tickets are not for sale, but we have you on the list. And from there, I kind of, put the bug in Roop's ear, and I was like, just asking, like, if I was to get tickets to the Super Bowl, would you be interested? And I remember the look on his face. He's like, yes. Like, why are you even asking me? And I was like, well, it may mean that one of our kids doesn't go to college, but but are you in? And he was like, absolutely. And so at that point, as soon as he said yes, it was kind of a mission to make sure it happened, because I wanted him to have one of his bucket list items fulfilled. But secondly, it was also about showing, like you said, in terms of the advocacy, showing others that you can still do all these things that you may think are not possible anymore, right? You can, we flew from Dallas to Phoenix. We went to, the pre-game events. We went to the tailgate before the event. And then we went to obviously the Super Bowl itself. And so just, making sure that people with ALS, as much as it feels like everything is hard and not possible, it is. It takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of determination, but don't give up hope, and don't give up on doing those things that are important to you and that make you happy. Because that was Roop's biggest thing, was like, for whatever time I have, I want to do the things that make me happy.
Oh, I love that. Well, what was that like? Because we kind of tiptoe around it a little bit, but after that ALS diagnosis actually came in, oh, there he is. There's that beautiful family.
Thank you.
I love those smiles. They're so infectious, all of you. You just have the most beautiful smiles. I love that photo. What was it like after that ALS diagnosis came in? Because we know that, it's a whirlwind. It completely changes your life, especially when it comes out of the blue. And when you really understand what ALS means, what was life like after that diagnosis?
Yeah, I think it's an emotional roller coaster. You start off with the disbelief, like this is not happening, or you've got it wrong, and you kind of go through that emotional cycle, and then you're on to the oh my God, because all you can think about is what happens in the end, and you don't really think about the journey in between that you're going to have. And so that's kind of the next emotional cycle. And then after that, for us, it was very much about, okay, like when our son Kalen was born, and we knew he wasn't going to make it, like, we have a decision to make here. Are we going to fight, or are we going to kind of give in to this? And it wasn't even a conversation, right? Both of us kind of looked at each other and knew it was going to be a fight. And then from that point on, it was really, we're going to do everything and anything possible. And because Roop had that spirit as well, he was as much involved in the care, in the investigation of medicines, in trying lots of different things. He did, kind of traditional medicine, the Rilutech, the Riluzols, the Radicavas, of the ALS world. But then he also tried, Ayurveda, which is, an Indian kind of traditional healing. He tried, he was doing physical therapy and physiotherapy and crystal healing and Reiki. He was just like, I will do everything and anything possible to fight this and hopefully be that first person that wins, right? Wins the battle. And so that was another phase, or another emotional roller coaster. And then as we started to realize that, okay, it's not going to come in our lifetime. What do we want to do next? And so at that point, it was really about, how can we maintain the quality of life? And that means still going out and doing things that he enjoys, being there for the kids, being a part of their life, making the memories, and being a dad, like, if they're not behaving, telling them off. If they need help with their homework, helping them with their homework, going out to school for donuts with dudes, and, being at the band concert and being at the soccer games, and just so that the boys never feel like my dad wasn't there. They always feel like, what, maybe he wasn't at all of them, but he was at enough of them. And so that's we made that decision. And then it became about things like, making sure we had a handicap accessible van, making sure we had all the tools and all the support system we needed so that we could then maintain that quality of life and have him live for as long as possible, which, we know that the average is about 3 to 5 years from diagnosis, and he lived almost 10.
Wow. Do you think the mindset had played a part in that? Because I think there is something really powerful when you have that mindset. As you said, Roop just had the most positive outlook. Do you think that helped him continue on and stick around for 10 years, defying those odds?
Absolutely. 100%. And we've seen it, unfortunately, with others that we know with ALS that have passed. And I think, they got to the point where it was either too hard, or maybe that mindset wasn't shared by those around them because of how hard it can be for the ones around you. And I think that, ultimately can lead to, a quicker path to the end. But with Roop, he was just like, I would be like, let's just relax this weekend. And Roop's like, where are we going? Whose house are we going to, or who are we calling over, or where, he was just like always wanting to do stuff and always be active. And I think that kept him very much connected to his social circle. It kept him connected to the world. And so he could still see his purpose in the world right until the end.
Oh, I love that. I just love this attitude that he had about everything. And I love the positive spin on all of this, but we do know that at the end of the day, ALS is still a horrible disease, and it is tough. And there are so many, I think, hard things about it that we maybe don't always talk about and address, because it's easier to focus on how you can turn it into something beautiful and something positive. But on that other side of it, was there something that stood out more than anything? What was some of the just hard moments that came from ALS with you guys?
Yeah, I think for us, for both Roop and I, it was the exhaustion, the physical, mental, and emotional toll that it takes, because every day could bring a different challenge and a new challenge. And just when you think, you've overcome one thing, something else happens. And so I think that was the hardest thing for us, was just feeling like we're tired all the time. And then I think the other thing was, we were very blessed in terms of we had a great support system, both in terms of our friends and family, and then also medical professionals. But we also came across we had enough experiences where it wasn't easy. It's like calling every month to try and get your feeding tube refills, and it's like, oh, sorry, we'll get them out next week. And you're like, well, he's not going to have any food then, those type of things. Yeah. Or the supplies coming and there being things short, and they're like, oh, we'll get the circuit to you, or we're out of stock. And it's like, but it's a ventilation circuit, like that can cause bacteria, which can cause an infection, which can kill him. And so it's really just fighting those battles on a daily basis, and not just being an advocate for the disease, but almost being an educator of the disease and what it's like for somebody day to day to have it. And therefore, when something in the process doesn't work, the knock-on effect it can have. Roop was great in the sense that he's like, you need to call that insurance company. Like, you need to ask for this. You need to tell them this. So he was very much his own advocate as well. And he did all of the research in terms of, what his benefits should be and what he can ask for. And because he had that personality that honestly anybody would give him anything, he made sure to take advantage of it as well. So, if somebody would be like, I have a spare one. And he's like, what about a spare two? He was that type of guy. And so, but those were the challenges, was just, great, we've gone through the supplies and we're short. So that's another phone call and another phone call. And now it's, waiting, and what do we do in the interim? And, how do we, and so it was just those everyday little challenges that when you added them up, it was just exhausting. And that led to, it led to not good days, days where we were frustrated with the system, with the process, with each other. But we also knew that at the end of the day, any of that frustration or anger or sadness was the disease and it wasn't us. And so we had to kind of always come back to that place of like, we're feeling this way or we're acting this way because of the ALS, not because we don't love each other or we're not here to support each other. And, we had arguments where, I would kind of walk away and, I'd need some quiet time. And then I'd be like, it's time to take you to the bathroom. Like in a bad mood, I'd be like, it's time to do your feeding tube. It's time to do your medicine. And so, we would still do everything that needed to be done. And so, it's just lots of ups and downs, lots and lots of ups and downs.
Well, you kind of answered it, but I was going to ask you, in those hard moments, so for people going through all this, what was the thing that got you through that and that kept you smiling and keeping that positive attitude and getting the work done at the end of the day? What got you through that?
The number one reason was the boys, and just making sure that Roop was here for as long as possible for the boys and watching them grow up. And I think the other thing was just because at the bottom of everything else, everybody would always say, oh, Roop and Siobhan, like they're this really, strong, formidable couple. And it was kind of like, yeah, that's who we are. So coming back to who we were, which is, like I said, there may be arguments and there may be difficult times and all sorts of things. And, sometimes you even say things that you don't mean, but ultimately coming back to like, we have such a strong bond. We have such love. Like, that's what you come back to is, I want this person in my life for as long as possible, and I think from Roop's perspective, it was the appreciation of like what your caretaker or your partner and even your children are doing. And he always had that appreciation. He didn't just take it for granted that this is something that you should be doing. He very much understood that this is, it's, I won't say the word burden, although, sometimes he felt like he was, and I would always tell him, you're not. I think it was, he just knew the undertaking that it was and appreciated me and the boys for taking it on and never stepping back and saying, we don't want to do this or we don't want to do that. If Roop wanted to do it, we did it.
I love that. Oh, Ronan, this was a lot. So, and you're a kid. I mean, we say this because it's true. You are very wise beyond your years. But at the end of the day, you're still a kid and your dad is going through that. This is heavy. What was this like for you going through this new change in the family?
It was hard because we had to change a lot. Like with our car, we had to make sure, like if we were going out of town, we'd have to get a car that, has a ramp in it. So sometimes that would cause us to wait like, an hour just to find one of those cars. And then also if I wanted to, or me and my brother wanted to hang out with our friends, and it was more than one friend, and we were picking them up from our house or from their house, or we were picking them up from school, then it would be hard because our old car with the van with the ramp, it only fits, like you'd have to put the back seats down, and it's a whole long process. So it'd be hard.
Adjustments. It was lots of new adjustments in life, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And, just skipping out on things because, the last 4 or 5 years, especially after Roop got his trach in 2020, we weren't in a position to leave him alone. And so, if the boys wanted to go somewhere, sometimes I wouldn't be able to drop them off because I couldn't leave Roop on his own. Or, if the weather was bad, then Roop wouldn't want to go out. And so it was a huge adjustment for everybody. But I think, rightly or wrongly so, at the back of our mind, we all knew that this is only for a certain amount of time. Now, whether that's 2 years or 5 years or 10, it's still, it's not forever. And so we can all deal with this because we know when we look back, we'll appreciate that we did what we did and the time that we spent with him. So, in the moment, it was definitely hard to be like, hey, you can't go to your friends because, daddy's not feeling well, or I can't drive you. But, and they definitely found it hard. But I think looking back, they would much rather have had that time with their dad than their friends, which, they can have now.
Yeah, those moments. You guys got to create some really special moments together with your dad. When you brought up, Siobhan, you brought up the support system, which I do love because this is something that is so big and so heavy. And I would never want anyone to have to walk through this ALS journey alone. And so you were lucky. You have this amazing family. Your boys are incredible. The bond you and your husband had is incredible. But you mentioned the support system. So what was your support system like? And why was that so important?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody that deals with ALS or really any disease knows the challenges of or the financial burden that it creates. And so for me, I had to still work full time, and Roop, got to the point where he needed full-time care. And we were really, I will use the word blessed a lot because despite everything that we have been through, I still think that we were blessed because I hear stories and I see people who are dealing with the same thing, but have it much more difficult. And so we were lucky that when both the boys, when Ronan was born shortly after, we got a nanny for him because Roop and I would both work from home. So we thought, let's have him home and we can kind of play with him at lunchtime and things like that. And so we hired somebody whose name is Adriana. She joined to take care of Ronan. And then Keaton came along and then she took care of Keaton. And then as they kind of got older and started transitioning into kind of pre-K, that was when Roop got diagnosed. And so she kind of switched over to helping a little bit with Roop and then helping a little bit more. And then she became his full-time caregiver because the boys were in school. And so it just happened to be the transition. Just, she wanted to step up because she was so close to the family. Roop, she knew everything about us. She knew what Roop liked, what Roop didn't like. And she, adored the boys and obviously still does. And so it just became this natural transition that she then became his daytime caregiver. And then I did the evenings. And then eventually, when the boys had all these activities and stuff like that, Roop didn't always want to go because, everybody knows that getting in the chair, getting in the van, being out in the cold or the 105-degree Texas heat is not always pleasant. And so we hired somebody to be with him for a couple hours in the evening. So that meant that, the boys could still participate and kind of have what we call a normal life, and yet Roop could still get the quality of care he needed. And then I would kind of take over at 8 or 9 o'clock for the overnight. And then the weekends, it would just be us and, maybe a couple hours with the caretaker. But having those caretakers, what it did was it meant that Roop got the attention that he needed, rather than kind of me trying to split my time between the boys, the work, the house, Roop, and all of his, everything that goes with that. So one, he got the attention he needed and the quality of care he needed, but also he got the like the companionship, right? Because that's really important, because these caregivers were not really caregivers. They were friends who were taking care of Roop. That's, you know, and then eventually they were family taking care of Roop. And, you know, we are as close to them today as we, you know, the day they started and throughout this whole journey. So having those people that you can trust with really one of the most important things in your life was so important, so important. And you know, they knew who Roop was, and they really had a good time with Roop as well, because he had such an outgoing personality. One of our caregivers, Peggy, she would come in and she would kind of download her day to Roop, and Roop would give her advice, you know, sometimes on her love life and sometimes on different things. And it was just this bond that he got to create, and still be able to live through the ALS. And so these caregivers were, like I said, family in the end, but just so important to his mental well-being.
I love that sentence too. He got to live through the ALS. He was more than that. I love that. Ronan, did you feel that? Because again, like that's a lot for a kid to deal with. Did you have a great support system around you that helped you process all of these things?
Yeah, I had a lot of friends and, you know, our close family that would help us. And, you know, as Adriana used to be our caregiver, she knew us and she would always hang out with us and play games. She at one point, she was our Spanish teacher, because we kept telling her, you know, like we wanted to learn Spanish and everything. And then she also taught us a bunch of games that I don't think we ever would have learned if she hadn't taught us to it.
I like that.
Roop he has a really big extended family, and so you know, and he was kind of, everybody loved Roop, and so we would have, you know, a lot of people visiting different weekends, and so it was great because that way, you know, if we couldn't travel or Roop wasn't feeling up to it, the boys didn't feel disconnected from their his family. They could spend time with his cousins and his uncles and his nieces and nephews, because they would all come and visit. And so the boys still got to feel they could, you know, they got attention, they got to spend time with his family. Roop got to spend time with his family. You know, we would obviously go out and do things when they were here. So, you know, and then, you know, when they would come in town, they would kind of give me a break. They'd be like, here, why don't I sit with Roop, and, you know, or I can, you know, maybe do his feeding tube if you want to go and do this. And so it was, we, like I said, I always come back to the word blessed between, you know, our family and our local Dallas group. And even honestly, I have, you know, some of my closest friends back home in Scotland, is just those messages that you get some mornings that are like, hey, you are amazing, you got this. I know it's probably going to be another hard week, but you can do it. You know, just all of those little things that add up to keeping you strong and being like, okay, I can do it for another day.
I love that you say that, actually, because when you and I talked about this, I think that sometimes people that maybe haven't dealt with ALS, sometimes it's scary and it's intimidating. So this is perfect. I want you to kind of address, what can someone do? How can people help? If somebody is watching this, hears this, and they know somebody who's going through something, it doesn't even have to be ALS, but they're going through something and they want to help, they want to support, but they don't know how. What is your advice on how can they do that? Or what were the things that meant the most to you in the moment?
So I'm going to ask Ronan, do you remember the episode of the podcast where you were talking about, you know, if people want to get involved, what are some of the things they can do? Do you remember right now?
Well, I remember a little bit of it. And first of all, you need to have a good mindset. That's the most important. But then other things they can do is they can help with, like, doing everyday stuff, like if somebody has work they have to do, or they need something done on their phone, you can maybe, you know, get them to unlock their phone, and then you can help them scroll through it. You can help them type everything, because, like, for a person with ALS, it might be really hard to type with.
Yep. So that's a way to get involved. And then the other way you talked about in the podcast is ask them, right? A lot of times we're scared to ask that, hey, what can I help you with? You know, is there something that I can do? Whether it's something as simple as coming over and, you know, folding laundry to help, if it's something as simple as coming over and sitting with that person and watching a movie with them so that they feel like they've got company. You know, the one thing that you know, we talk about not doing is reminding them of who they were, you know, like, oh, remember when you used to do this, you used to do that, or you used to be able to do that. You know, I would say don't do that. I would say focus on what would you like to do now, and then kind of be there for them and support that. And like I said, it could be the simplest things, like going to get their groceries, helping fold laundry. It could be coming to watch a movie. It could be, as Ronan said, you know, if if the person wants to stay social, but it's hard for them to type or use their phone, then maybe help them with something as simple as, let me scroll through and delete the emails you don't want, or you want to text your friends, or, what we did a lot was Roop would love to do Zoom calls with his friends, like his college buddies or his cousins. So we would organize a Zoom call, and these, 5, 6, 8, 10 guys would come on the call. And Roop, he had an eye gaze machine, but obviously it takes a while to type. So he would just occasionally kind of throw in, some funny comments and things, but otherwise he just enjoyed sitting back and listening to them all banter, whether they were talking about, the sports games at the weekend, or whether they're just making fun of each other, or whatever it is, but he got to feel a part of it. So just, even things like that, what's important to that individual? What does that individual enjoy? And then how can you maybe help with that?
I love that. And because, as you said, sometimes it is very intimidating, but it's actually, you can help in so many ways that are so tiny and so simple. To you, to me, it might seem very tiny and simple, but to you or to Roop, it could have been something so huge. So I think that's a beautiful reminder to people that it doesn't take much to just help.
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is that, obviously ALS is a very intimidating disease. Neither Roop or I are from a medical background at all. We're both finance people. And so we didn't know, all the questions that you need to ask and all the things that you need to learn. Like, we didn't know any of those at the start, and we obviously learned them as we went along. But I would say to people that want to help, like, don't be afraid to help with those type of things. Like, the boys at the end were suctioning Roop. They were, changing out his, like, moving him from one ventilator to the other, all sorts of stuff, like navigating him in his chair. Occasionally they've had to do the feeding tube. They've crushed up his medicines. There was an occasion where I had hurt my back lifting Roop, and I couldn't move, like literally couldn't move. And so we were waiting for this home health company to come and give me a steroid shot so that I could actually, I could physically not move. And so it was time for Roop's feeding tube. And so I just walked Ronan through it, like, here's what you need, here's the medicines you need to give, here's the order you need to give it in. And so, I always say that if the kids can do it, then the adults can help and do it too. So, don't be afraid to help with some of the things to do with ALS as well, because, once you do them a couple of times, become confident in them, those can be huge helps. Like, a lot of times I'll be, doing something with Roop, like maybe putting his socks on and then he's drooling. I'll grab the boys and be like, hey, can you suction daddy? And so in that moment, Roop gets tended to straight away. So I would say don't be afraid of it. Be willing to learn, and just know that when you do help with those things, it is a huge help.
Yeah. So there's so many ways to help, guys. Just don't, I think the moral of the story is, don't be scared. Don't be intimidated, because and then you get to make these moments. I think it's really magical. You get to be a part of the journey or have these moments, and that's really special too.
Yeah.
But Siobhan, I remember, I don't know why, but this stuck out to me when we talked, because I remember you saying that you and Roop in the beginning, you really struggled with the question, why us?
Yeah.
Why us? So how did you get past that why us, or what answers did you get or come to, or how did you squash that nagging in the back of your head, why us?
Yeah. I think for me, it's unfortunately, I've had a lifetime of why us questions asked. I shared with you earlier that, I lost my dad when I was 1.5, and again, not a situation that could have been avoided. Then losing Kaylin, and then Roop. But I think after we went through everything that we went through with Kaylin, literally the day before we found out the news, I went to the doctor. I had a perfect doctor's appointment. Everything looked great. We'll see you in a week. And that night felt something a bit weird. Went in, it was fluttering from seizures. He was delivered, and then wasn't going to make it past the 5 days that he lived. And at that point, after he was gone, we sat down and went, what just happened? Like, why did it happen to us? And we realized that there's no answer to that, because medically we had done everything we could do. In terms of my care, his care, just everything. And so I think at that point we realized that if we go down the rabbit hole of trying to put some logic to this, we're going to drive ourselves crazy. So what we have to put it down to is, this was a chance for us to become, create this even stronger bond as a couple. And I guess maybe, you know, I'm a big believer of everything happens for a reason. And, you know, maybe everything that happened with Kaylin was to set us up for success with everything that was going to happen when Roop got diagnosed with ALS. And so when he got diagnosed, again, you know, it was like, this is crazy. And, you know, we went down the, is it genetic? Is it just random? And when we found out it was random, it was like, okay, how much time and energy, given that we're on a ticking clock, are we going to spend dwelling over why us? Because we're not going to get that answer. But and so we really need to focus on making the best of it, because again, you only have a limited amount of energy, and you've got to be really mindful about where you put that energy, and putting it into asking a question that I will never get the answer to, even now, never ever, just didn't seem like a smart thing to do. And Roop and I were like, we're smarter than this. So we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. And I believe everything happens for a reason. I think that even everything we've gone through with Roop is so that we can be there to advocate for others, because as difficult as his journey was, we were, like I said, always, you know, blessed in terms of the support system, in terms of how much we were able to do. And so that, you know, that's not something that everybody has, where you have friends that come to doctor's appointments so they can translate what's happening, you know, where they give you your own room because you're taking up too much space in the waiting room because you have too many people here, when he's having the trach operation, you know, all of those types of things we were fortunate enough to have. And so having gone through that, realizing that not everybody does. So if we can have a voice in making sure that people can still live life to the fullest, people can still fight this disease, and people can just feel a way that they can still live, you know, like we said, living, you know, through ALS, then that's what we're here for.
Yeah. And I love that you took that outlook on it. I know it's horrible what happened to you, but as you just said, you went through all of this, and now you want to use your experience and all of your knowledge, and you want to pass that on and help other people that are in your situation. Because unfortunately, I wish that I would have met you sooner. I really, really do, because you didn't get to meet the ALS United. You didn't get to be a part of that team. You didn't get to have sort of the services that we can help and provide and take some of that burden off your shoulders. You did a lot of this on your own. It was you, like, making those phone calls, doing the research, figuring out what to do, getting to doctor's appointments. You guys, you and your support system, you took all of that on yourselves, and you did it. And I remember you even telling me you probably tried everything there is to try. You've used every possible thing you could imagine. And now what you're doing with that information and knowledge is so awesome.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, there's too many people being diagnosed with, you know, one person is too many, but there is too many being diagnosed with ALS. And so as somebody gets my contact information or number, and I get on the phone with their relative, and they're kind of telling me at what stage of the ALS they're at in terms of their symptoms, there's a sense of peace that comes from being able to, you know, kind of list off all the different things. So, you know, hey, she's having a hard time holding her neck up. Okay, well, here's the neck brace you can get from Amazon. It's $20. If she has a trach, here's how to cut a hole in it and still make it work for you. You know, if it's like, hey, they're having, you know, sores on you know, on their behind or whatever. Okay, here's the link to the Amazon site where you can get the patches that will help avoid that, and here's the donut that you need to get. And to be able to just instantly give people those answers, instead of feeling like, you know, you're already helpless, you know, you're already frustrated, you're already scared and tired. So to be able to give them some of those answers, that they can say, okay, I'm going to try this, and maybe it won't exactly work for them, but at least I've got a starting point, rather than, you know, searching through numerous websites and being on the phone for hours on end trying to get that information. So there's a sense of, like I said, it's not satisfaction, it's peace, that, you know what, Roop, you continue to help, you continue to be here, because everything that you did to push for your care is now helping in somebody else's care.
It's beautiful. It's how you're keeping his legacy alive. Just one of the many ways that you and your boys are keeping his legacy alive. And Ronan, I want to talk to you about that, because I know, I mean, you were only 4 years old. You were 4 years old when your dad got diagnosed with ALS. So you grew up with seeing this and getting to see all the things that this does. You watched your dad go through this. You were there, as your mom was saying, you were helping out, you were changing the feeding tube, you were doing all the things. So I know that your dad inspired you in a really, really big way. What did he inspire you to do? How do you share your ALS advocacy?
So I think he inspired me to do a lot of things. One of the things he inspired me to do was to become an athlete. At first I was like, should I? And then he was like, I think you'd be really great at soccer. So I started soccer, and now I'm like, trying to want to do basketball and all these other sports. And then he also inspired me to create my first book when I was 10 years old.
That's so casual. Let's just let that sink in, everyone. That's so casual. Can I just also make mention that Ronan wrote and published his first book at 10 years old. Yeah, 10. The number of fingers we have on our hands, 10 years old. Ronan, so tell us about this. What is this book? Let us see that book again. What is the book about?
So the book is about his fight. Like, I created the book when he was still alive. And so it's about everything we could do to help him. Like, there's a chapter about medicines and, weapons like wheelchairs and eye gazes and, just family and friends. And it all started when my mom got me a book creating kit because I was bored and I had nothing to do. I think it was over our school spring break. And I really didn't know what to do. And so she got me the kit, and I was like, well, what should I write about? There's so many things. And my dad comes in and he's like, oh, you should write about, my journey with ALS. I think you can make a really good book out of it. And so I wrote about that, and then we sent it back to the company and they turned it into a book. And then we thought, well, this could actually, help advocate for ALS. And let's take this one step farther. And so we printed a lot of these books and we sold them. And most of the money went to the ALS Association, which we raised $15,000 for them.
I mean, that is crazy. That is so amazing. $15,000. That's huge. And then you got to keep that legacy of your dad alive, because then that money went to helping other people that are going through this battle and walking in the same shoes that your dad walked in. Now, did you create this? Okay, this happened at spring break. Did you write this whole book during spring break?
I think it was summer. It was summer. So I wrote the book, I wrote all the words, but to get the information and everything, that took like a week or two. So it took me in total 3 weeks. But yeah, it was less than a month.
We can show
Oh my goodness. I have a feeling there's a lot of authors out there right now that are just like, they're stuck. They've got writer's block, writing for months and months and years. And look at you. You created this masterpiece in 3 weeks.
Yeah. So there's the chapter on, what is ALS and kind of explaining.
Oh my gosh.
Start with what is it? And then, you doing it?
Crazy. Oh.
What's this thing?
This is the introduction to weapons. And so it's like, the weapons, like I said, were family, friends, eye gaze, wheelchair. And the next chapter is talking about medicines.
Yeah, so he kind of hand drew all these pictures. So you've got the ventilator, you've got the eye gaze, you've got the wheelchair, and then just explaining how all those different things play a part in, in his fight to stay here. And, I had mentioned there's one in here, obviously, about the caregivers. Who were a huge part of it, if I can find them here.
Wow. Oh.
So just, the idea that it's not one thing, it takes a lot of different, takes a lot of different things to be able to, fight ALS. And it was a combination of all these things that helped Roop stay here for as long as he did.
Yeah. I love that. We have people asking, I don't know, again, I don't know if you've been seeing these comments, guys, but they are just adoring you, loving you. We have people asking if the book is still for sale. Can people still buy this?
So they can still buy this. We will put a link out there, or you can email us on Facebook or Instagram.
Love it. How do they find you? Give us some handles.
Well, if you find me on Instagram and then just send me a message, so it's at Siobhan I have to remember what it is, at Siobhan_Pandya.
Love it. Love it. Love it. You guys can even type it in the comment section too, if you want to show it to other people while we're chatting away, and let them know how they can get your book. Also, people are chiming in to say what an amazing and inspirational family you guys are, how beautiful the family is, that you guys are definitely my new hero. big fat love. That is something that my friend that I lost to ALS would say. You guys are definitely shining examples of spreading that big fat love. I'll have to tell you all about that later.
We're gonna put it in the private chat. So Sam, if you can move it across, because I can't comment on the other one.
Yes. She's got you. Sam does everything. She's incredible. I'd be lost without her. Scott chimed in to say that this young man, Ronan, he's talking about you. This young man is wise beyond his years. I told you so. You're doing an amazing job raising your children. That's a shout out to you, Siobhan. You are. These are incredible boys. So, okay, 10 years old, you write this book. It is so incredible. You raised $15,000 to help those battling ALS. Not only that, but you're spreading awareness. People are reading this book. They're learning now more about it. They're learning how to deal, how to help, how to support. I think that's so cool. But that's not it. Being an author wasn't enough to add to your resume. You went ahead and decided, hey, I'm going to have a podcast. So I want to talk about that because, first of all, I love the name. So tell everybody why you picked what the title of your podcast is and why was that name so important to you?
So the title of my podcast was Mindset Matters, and it was important to me because that's something that you need to have no matter what you're doing, because if you don't have the right mindset, you basically lost any battle. And so I picked that name because of that. And the podcast is about it's basically based on it's based on the book. So each chapter in the book is an episode in the podcast.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
So, and we also created T-shirts from the podcast that are these ones.
Oh, you need to go.
Oh, so cool. so cool.
And so the when Roop passed, it was like you said, we've talked a lot about his legacy. And so I sat down with the boys and, asked them, how do you want to continue Roop's legacy? And I wanted it to be something that they were passionate about, not forced into. Yes. And Ronan, as you said, has always, he's very much an extrovert, loves being in front of the camera, loves talking. And so, we kind of said, okay, we've got the book. What do you think we can do? And he's like, well, let's turn it into a podcast. And then, we'll talk about my younger son later, but he has a passion for food. And so he created a cookbook. So it was both, both of them worked on something that was close to their heart, but then was going to be something that they could kind of really get behind. And it was their area of expertise. And so the podcast, as Ronan says, it follows the chapters of the book, and it's got interviews with, for example, Roop's pulmonologist, who talks, more about the medical side of things, interview with the boys' therapist, because they started with a play therapist, and then, she became their kind of regular therapist almost 5 years ago. So we started them quite early so that they could understand what was happening. And so there's an interview with her to really talk about, how can kids deal with difficult situations like ALS. We've got interviews with his equipment specialist, who talks about that, with one of his best friends who was a doctor and would come to all of his doctor's appointments. There's obviously one with me, and then there's one with Adriana, his primary caregiver. And so just giving the different perspectives from their side of things, their relationship with Roop, and then more importantly, giving advice. That's really the big takeaway is able to listen to this, feel motivated, feel like you're not alone, and that whether it's ALS or something else, that there's always, somebody there and somebody that's going through the same thing as you.
I love that. And I know that we have a little clip too. If Sam is ready, I want to show this, guys. Here's a little clip of what you can expect with Ronan's Mindset Matters.
My dad, Rupesh Kotiya, died of ALS in March 2023. People with ALS gradually lose their ability to move, speak, swallow, and breathe. There is no cure for ALS, and most people die within 3 to 5 years. My name is Ronan Rupesh Kotiya, and I'm 13 years old, and I want to share his story and raise awareness for this disease. So I started my podcast, Mindset Matters.
Through this 9-part series, hear inspiring stories with family and friends and the journey through ALS.
In this episode, I have a special guest with me.
With insight and advice from experts, including doctors, therapists, and caregivers.
Thank you to all the listeners listeners who tuned in today. We can't change the fact that our loved ones have this disease, but we can change how we react to it.
Your dad would truly be proud of you.
Mindset Matters. 9 episodes in the journey through ALS on Apple, YouTube, and Spotify.
That just, it gives me goosebumps seeing that, Ronan. I'm so
Every
proud
time I see it,
of you.
I still get excited and giddy.
And can I just tell you, the first time that I saw that, I was going around here where I am at, and I was showing everybody, saying, "You guys, look at what this 13-year-old did. Look at, he's going to be on the show." I am so proud of you and what you are doing. Like they said in that, your dad would be so proud of you. You are such a special young man. And I was watching these. I like to watch it on YouTube better actually than just listening, because I got hooked after the first one. I wanted to see what you were wearing. So I want you to tell people what is so special, because I got really drawn in by the fact of your wardrobe. So what's so special about what you're wearing on every episode of your podcast?
So each episode, my shirt kind of had a theme. Like I kind of wore a shirt. It was all of them were my dad's shirts. Except for the last episode, which I wore my Mindset Matter shirt. But all the rest, they were based, like I picked those shirts out because they matched with the guests. Like one of my dad's best friends, who was also one of his doctors, Dr. Gaurav Khatri, both of them were big Lakers fans. So I wore his Lakers shirt. And then with his pulmonologist, Dr. Lee, they went to the Elton John concert together. So I wore his Elton shirt. And so each of those shirts is his, and they all relate back to the guest or the episode topic.
I love this so much. You are just the stinking coolest, Ronan. Everybody, you guys check that out. And it's so relatable, and it's so easy to digest, which I also love. They're not super long episodes. You can see them on YouTube. It's up there, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. So it's only 9 episodes. And Ronan, you talk to some incredible people. And as you guys were, Siobhan, as you were saying, you give some really great advice. So even if you're not going through this journey of ALS, it's really inspiring to listen to. But definitely, if you know someone going through this, send that podcast to them, because there's a lot of really helpful information in there, and it's just really fun to listen to. And you guys can check out all of his cool shirts too, his dad shirts that he's wearing in all the episodes. Ronan, you talk about a lot of really cool things through the episode, like what your experience was, what it was like, how to take care of yourself, your mental health, because that's such a big part of all of this, how to stay positive. You kind of really break it down on a simple level. What is ALS? What does it do to you? You touch a lot of important topics. So I don't want to get into all of them, because I want people to go watch your podcast and listen to it. But what are some of your maybe favorite moments from the show? Was there anything that maybe you learned that surprised you, or favorite guest that you had?
I didn't have a favorite guest because I loved talking to all of them. But I think one of my favorite moments was when our counselor, Dr. Sarah Sutton, we were talking, and she was like, "Oh, what are the songs you listen to with our dad?" And we were like talking about how it was Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and Kendrick Lamar. And so we started laughing in the middle of the show, and it was a nice moment.
Well, because which song was it though?
It was Drop It Like It's Hot.
Yeah.
And
Very cute, child appropriate.
I love it. Do you still listen to that? And does that remind you of your dad?
I always listen to that. And then the Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg one, Still Dre. That one's one of my favorites.
I'm embarrassed. This is my age. I don't know that song, but definitely Drop It Like So.
And I think if you watch the podcast, it's just one of those moments where, everything falls, like the inhibitions, the nervousness, even the seriousness of the topic. And it just comes down to like 2 little kids giggling. And obviously one of them is his therapist, but it just, it reminds you that through all of this, you have to smile, you have to laugh, even when things are not great, because, it's much better than the alternative.
Mm-hmm. So true. Well, what about for you, Siobhan? Because I know you're a proud mom. Was there an episode that sort of stood out to you? Was there a favorite moment or guest?
Yeah, it's the I think it's with Tom Simon, who's their equipment specialist, and it's when Ronan's telling the Christmas Eve story. And so, Roop passed March 2023, but December 2022, it was Christmas Eve. The boys were, obviously it's the day before Santa comes. And so the boys are in their pajamas, about to go to bed. And we put Roop in bed, and I'm looking at him, and I noticed that he's looking a little pale. And so I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "No." And so we start to like, what's going on? And, the ventilator's beeping. And so we're like, maybe it's the ventilator. So we switch to his backup. Seems okay. And then it starts beeping again. And so we're concerned. And so we call his, Dr. Lee's pulmonologist, and we're on the phone trying to troubleshoot. Basically, Ronan's FaceTiming to show the numbers and read the numbers. Keaton's with me trying to figure out what's going on. And so Dr. Lee is like, he's losing air somewhere, and you need to go to the ER right now. Like, if he continues to lose air, because he was on a ventilator. And so he's like, there's a leak somewhere. And so Keaton starts searching in using his problem-solving skills, starts going up and down the tube, trying to see if there's even the tiniest of cracks in the plastic tube. And unfortunately, because, the manufacturer of the tube had changed, the quality wasn't quite the same. And so at some point when it had bent, it created just the smallest of cracks, and that's where it was leaking. And so Keaton was able to find it, ran and got some masking tape to tape it up to make sure that that's what it was. And so then we all waited while the numbers came up a bit. And then once he was stable, we switched out the whole circuit. But that's probably my favorite story in there, because, at that point, the boys were 10 and 12 or something like that. And it summarizes the entire journey of what all of us have been through together. Like in that moment, we were scared, we were focused, we were, this was not going to be it. Like, it was not going to be Christmas Eve in the ER. Like, we were all very determined. And so it just kind of really, like I said, summarizes who we were as a family and how we tackled all the problems. And, he was okay. We got him stable. And, the next day was when I told them all that we were going to the Super Bowl. So it was magical. Yeah. The day after was magical, not that, but that's my favorite story of the podcast, because, it really gives people a sense of the type of things that we dealt with and the boys dealt with.
The dream team, the absolute unstoppable dream team.
Yeah.
Another example of that.
And so, and, obviously, like you're meeting Ronan here, who's my older son, but, there's Keaton as well, who, like I said, is a little bit more camera shy, but he is, equally invested in the advocacy piece, in making a difference, in raising funds. We've switched our support because we're, at the beginning, we continue to hope that they find a cure, and we raise money for that. Now we also want, for the people that are here, we want that quality of life for them. We want them to have the equipment they need, the support they need. So we support Team Gleason, the foundation, because they do provide eye gazes, which, for Roop was his heart for a long time, because he could stay connected. He could, Ronan, stop doing that. Ronan, put the blanket up. Keaton, let me taste that. It was his voice, right? And so, it's really important that everybody else has access to those equipment, that equipment, or as Ronan calls them, those what do you call it? Weapons, right?
Yes.
Weapons in the book.
And also, we loved playing, the games on the eye gaze. Like, there was Sudoku. I think at one point, just for us, he downloaded the Wordle. And so we would always do that every day.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So it was also a way to connect with the boys and do things with the boys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all of these are just so many beautiful moments. But again, last thing I bring up about the podcast, because I want everyone to go watch it themselves, but mindset matters. And Ronan, you said why that is so important. What are some ways? Do you have a couple tips that you could give to anyone listening or watching? What are some ways you can take care of yourself and your mental health?
So first thing you can do is by sitting down and just resting for a little bit and thinking about what's going on, so that, you get in your mind, but not thinking about it in the way that, oh, this is so bad. Like something bad's like thinking about the end, but instead thinking about, what can we do to make it the best life before. And so, those are one of the things you can do. You can also, like my mom said earlier, you can talk to the person, but then you also just take care of yourself. Like, if you focus on the other people too much, you might lose track of yourself, and you might, like keep your mental health good.
Yep, and your physical health, right?
Yeah.
That's important. So you talk in the podcast, it's about, going to take walks. It's about doing something that you enjoy, whether it's reading a book, going to see a movie, going out for dinner yourself, but just making sure that the caregiver and whoever else is kind of involved in that care is taking a break and taking care of themselves, because you can't take care of anybody else unless you're taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. Yes, first and foremost. I love that. Well, Ronan, this is another big question for you, buddy, but I know you can handle it. What is one of the most powerful lessons your dad has taught you?
I think one of the most powerful lessons he's taught me is probably to persevere through anything. Like if you're struggling with something, take a minute, think it through, and then get right back in it. Like he would always say, get right back in the game, even if it wasn't a game.
I love that. How about you, Siobhan? Is there something that you kind of take away? What did you most admire or take with you about your husband?
I think just the love that he had for everybody, right? That's like, that was the thing about Roop, was just I said he was a lover of life, but he was also a lover of people. And if you were his friend or his family, my goodness, did he have your back? He once, there's a story that was told at his celebration of life event where he once got into, he tried to get into an altercation with like a 6'5" or 6'8" basketball player. And, I should probably explain to everybody that Roop was 5'4". And so you could see how that would not end well. But I think one of the guys, it was back when he was at NC State college, where one of the guys, I think, said something to his friend. And Roop was like, I can handle this, 5'4" against like 6'8". I think the guy's name was Rasheed Wallace. So he went on to play in the NBA. But, Roop was just that guy. Like, he had your back. And so I think that's one of the biggest things for me, is like having people's back. And that could be these strangers out there that have ALS, or it could be obviously our loved ones. But his passion and love for life and his passion and love for people is what I take away from him. And then I think my takeaway from the whole situation, I always joke about it, is that if I ever have the courage to get a tattoo, it's going to say it is what it is. Because that's what it comes down to. It's trying not to overthink or overanalyze things sometimes, because that almost becomes more difficult than the situation you're dealing with. And so, when something happens, it is what it is. Got to deal with it. Ventilator's not working. It is what it is. Well, how are we going to fix it? Insurance is not paying this. Got to make a couple of phone calls. It is what it is. And so I think just kind of that keeps you open to anything that's going to happen. And so when things do happen, you're not as surprised as you maybe would have been if you didn't have that attitude.
Are you scared of getting a tattoo?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I just have to say for you right now, everything you've been through in life, someone called you a Wonder Woman earlier in the comment section. 100% that's on. You are Wonder Woman. I have a feeling a tattoo would be the least of anything you've ever gone through in life.
Well, yeah, but I also I'm scared that if I put it is what it is, it'll tempt fate. Where then it's like, she can deal with anything, so we can continue to throw things at her. So I'm like, it would be nice to have a little break, because it's been very long. Even with Kaylin, it's been a long 15 years.
Oof. Well, I just love your attitude, though. Still, no matter, I do believe, I'm with you, that things happen for a reason, and that we're sort of never given more than we can handle. And I think sometimes they push it. They put the universe, God, he pushes it to the line. But you have just always, you and your family, you've always handled it with such grace and just such strength. That's really admirable. And you have found a way in every bad situation that your family has gone through. You found a way to turn it into something really positive and beautiful and make the most of it. So I don't want anything more coming your way.
Yeah.
But I know that whatever life throws at you, you guys, easy peasy. You guys have got this. You're an incredible family. Absolutely incredible. Oh, and you kind of brought it up too, that Ronan, you are a superstar. I'm just gonna call it like I see it, buddy. You're writing books at 10 years old, you're spreading incredible awareness, you're creating a podcast, you're getting the word out there, and you're really diving in, because this is hard. This is hard for adults. And here you are as a kid going through all of this. And I love that you decided to share that knowledge, to help other kids go through this so that they don't feel alone. That's really beautiful. And your brother is also out there changing the world for ALS advocacy also. So I know that he's not joining us tonight, but I want to talk a second about this because your brother's doing some really incredible things. So you guys tell me about him and what he's doing, how he chose to be an ALS advocate.
So he decided, because he has a love of cooking, and that's something him and our dad shared. And so he wanted to create.
Wait, they shared a love of eating. Let's be clear. Like I have to be clear. They have a love of eating. You're not cooking. Well, Keen's a cook, but not.
So he created this cookbook called "Live, Laugh, and Cook."
There you go.
Love it.
And so it's got a bunch of his favorite recipes, and it's got a lot of chapters like breakfast, lunch, dinner, desserts, drinks, and snacks. And then also on each page, it has the ingredients, the steps on how to make it, the photo, the title, and an ALS tip, which is basically like how you can change it for people with ALS, and then also a memory about it. So here we have his decadent crepes part of it. And so his ALS tip says, toppings such as chocolate hazelnut spread or peanut butter can lead to the crepe piece sticking to the roof or side of the mouth. Therefore, either avoid these toppings or only use a small quantity. And then also it says, and then for the memory, it says, my dad liked savory fillings like in his crepes, like bacon, egg, and cheese. He did not like chocolate hazelnut spread at all.
So yeah, each one has got a tip so that you can, because Roop loved food, absolutely loved food. His favorite thing was a good whiskey and a pork chop. And so he wanted to make sure that, people knew that, for as long as you can still eat with ALS. And so Keaton kind of wanted to take that to the next level. And the idea behind the tips is you can still eat regular food, but you just need to be conscious of how it's served or how it's made for somebody with ALS so that it's not a choking hazard or anything like that. So each recipe, there's 30 recipes and they're all Roop's favorites. Keaton's kind of taken them, tweaked them, and then, like I said, added this ALS tip so people with ALS can eat them.
I love that. And I'm hoping we can still get that book too, right? Can you still buy the cookbook?
Yes.
I love it. And by the way,
also have a commercial of that, but that one's also available.
Oh, let's look at this. Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Let's learn a little bit more about this cookbook.
My name is Keaton Rupesh Kotiya, and I wrote this book to honor my dad and our bond over food, even through his battle with ALS. My dad always encouraged me to try new foods and be open-minded. He also told me to help my mom in the kitchen with breakfast, lunch, and dinner so I could start learning young. My dad was an inspiration in so many ways, and I am so glad that I had the opportunity to take all of his teachings and create this book. I know that he is very proud of me and is always watching over me.
I love this so much, and I am so excited to get my hands on this because I do want to try some of these recipes. And I was even telling you, I'm going to need to get him to teach me how to make these things because I am not super great in the kitchen either. But like your father, Ronan, I have a very large appreciation for food.
Yeah, and Keaton is a great chef. Like it's there's many days where I don't need to worry about breakfast or dinner, or by the time I get up, if I'm having a lie-in, I don't need to worry about giving them breakfast because Keaton's made homemade this or homemade that. So and he loves, right now he's growing a lot of his own fruits and vegetables and herbs so that he can kind of do that, from garden to table type of thing as well. But yeah, I mean, he and Roop really bonded over food. And so this was his passion, and that's how he turned it into a project where, again, with the book and even with the T-shirts that Ronan's wearing, the proceeds partly go to Team Gleason and then the rest of them go towards their college fund, so that whatever their dreams are, that they can also accomplish them. But yeah, the book has been doing exceptionally well, and it's selling really fast. So we're super proud of him too.
I love that, and he is 11. Let's bring this up. So he is only 11 years old. And
Yes.
he is already a published cookbook author who is just, does he want to be a chef? Is that the goal for him?
Yeah, that's the goal at the moment. So we'll see if that changes, because obviously he is only 11. But right now, he is very much like, if I cook something and he'll taste it and he's like, I think it needs lime. I think it needs this. And I'm like, okay, buddy. It's great.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Okay, so Ronan, let's assume your brother's not listening to this right now. We'll keep this our little secret. The truth. Do you think your brother is a good chef? Do you like his food?
I think it's good, but I don't really like everything, and so I kind of but it's really good. So he can cook.
Well, because Keaton loves spicy foods, and Ronan's not a big spicy fan, so
Okay.
clash on things like that. But otherwise, otherwise you like most of his recipes, right?
Yeah, like we have different opinions for some of the stuff. Like if he's making homemade bagels or anything, and he tries, like he knows now not to give it to me, like not to give a bagel with cream cheese or anything on it, because he knows I don't like that. So he'll either give it to me with butter or make me a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich, which is really great because he knows what I love.
You know how lucky you are to have your own little personal chef in the family? That's amazing. I've never made a homemade bagel in my life. Now I'm feeling very underaccomplished that an 11-year-old is making homemade bagels.
But once you get the book, you'll be able to make them because it's one of the recipes in there.
Is it? Yes. I'm really excited about the crepe. I am a sweet crepe fan, so I'm excited to dive into some of those and get to sort of read the memories along the way. I think that's really beautiful. Someone's actually asking, though, about, I don't know if Sam answered it or not, but they want to buy the book, but they are not on Instagram. So can they email you?
Yes. I'll just put if Sam can put just siobhanpandya@gmail.com. You can send me an email and then I'll send you the link. So it's by, we worked with a publisher called Create My Cookbook. So you can buy directly from their website and they'll ship to you directly as well.
Love it. And he's already getting his first job offer. Scott would like to know if he can hire Keaton to be his personal chef. So Scott, I'm sure he's all over that. He already knows how to make the recipes ALS friendly for you. He's got you covered, my man. If anyone else is looking for a private chef, we can hook you up. And a troubleshooter, a problem solver, we got you.
Exactly.
I love that.
When I look back on this journey, obviously, there's a huge part of me that's like, I wish we'd never gone through it, like everybody would think. But then I just think, if I look at the opposite side, the caring, empathetic, smart young men that these guys will become, because of everything they've gone through, and that it will be a strength to them, not a hindrance. It kind of gives me it helps me accept what's happened a little bit easier.
Again, there's that mindset. I don't know how there's anything that can make it easier, but that you're finding the strength in that, because you and Rupe were incredible parents and you raised incredible boys. I can't wait to see them grow up to be, these exceptional men and hopefully change the world of ALS, among many other things.
Yeah, we already kind of started very unofficially working on their next project, which is more of a longer term project. And so we decided, because Ronan has a love for sports, which obviously he shared with Rupe, and one of the things Rupe was going to do was to take him to all the football stadiums. And so now I have signed up to do that. I'm not sure whether that's a good idea or not, but I signed up to it. And so what we decided was, hey, if we're going to go see all these stadiums, whether it's a game or a tour, how can we make this something that can help, right, others? And so as we visit each stadium, we've kind of created this checklist. So the idea behind the checklist, if we were to bring Roop to this stadium today, does it have all the things that he needs? So, does it have power cords by the handicap seating? Is the handicap seating anywhere near the family but restrooms? So it's kind of like we're doing a little bit of a audit's not the right word, but a check of the stadium, so that, because sports is such a huge part of so many people's lives. And, I hate to think that people with ALS or any other disease don't feel like they can enjoy it in the stadium with the atmosphere, with the other fans, because those important needs that they have are not met. And so, the plan is to go to every stadium, create a presentation that kind of summarizes what we found, send it off to the team or the stadium owner. And then at the end, when we've done all the stadiums, pull it all together and send it off to the NFL to be like, hey, here's some opportunities where you can continue to make your stadiums better, so that it's a inclusive experience for everyone, regardless of where they are or what they have in life.
Wow. Okay, so that's the next project for the family.
Yes.
Ooh, you like to think big. I admire that about you.
Yes.
You have big goals and big dreams. And again, it's changing the world. You guys are making the world so much better for everyone going through that. You're my kind of people. I love, 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 love that. And I want to ask both of you for pieces of advice, because you have been there, you have done and tried it all. You have walked this journey on different levels as an adult and as a child. So each of you, so Siobhan, what piece of advice would you give to families going through this, walking this journey, battling ALS?
I think two things. One is stick together. Like, as hard as it is, and it is excruciating at times, right? Physically, mentally, emotionally, but stick together, because being a family and going through the journey as a family is going to be one of your biggest strengths. So that's number one. And then the second thing is to always know that you're not alone. There's people like me, people like you guys with your organization, that are there to help, right? And these days in the world of social media and connections, we're, hopefully just one click away. And so, don't hesitate to try and find somebody that can help you, because there is somebody that out there that wants to help you.
Beautiful. How about you, Ronan? What piece of advice would you give to kids that are going through this journey that have an ALS diagnosis in their family?
I'd say stay strong, and then also, help your parents as much as you can, or help your loved one that has the disease. But then also, do as much as you can to live your life, because you don't want to be isolated from all your friends and everything. And so, just hang out with your friends, because they can help you. Because a lot of my friends are great about, when my dad had ALS, and they're just, most of my friends, a lot of my friends are amazing people.
You had a great support system around you too.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so beautiful, you guys. I would stay here and talk to you forever, because you guys just are such a cool family. You're such amazing individuals. We have a little tradition here. Well, I've decided to make it a tradition here. We kind of started something new where I love ending the episode with just sharing, especially for Roop, who lost his battle to ALS last year. He isn't here with us anymore, but his legacy lives on through all the amazing work the two of you are doing. He just had this larger than life personality, which I see in you too, Ronan, and I love that. But if there was a way for people watching to sort of honor him, what would you say? Is there something I have a feeling I know what you're going to say, but I want to let you guys be the ones to say it. So to anyone watching, I want to give them sort of a challenge today to sort of do something in Roop's memory, to just throw it out there and give him some love. What could they do? What could the people watching this show do to honor Roop?
What do you think?
I think I really, I think they could.
Can I help you?
Yeah, you go first.
Yeah. I think, we talked about it right at the start when we talked about who Roop was, and it's live life. 100%, when we did his celebration of life event, which kind of ran in chronological order. So we had his, his parents, then his brother, then his cousins that he grew up with, his college friends, his work friends, and it kind of went all the way through and ended with, the boys and I. And the biggest thing that people walked away with is, one, being able to kind of piece together his whole life, because they were, most of them were only part of one of it. So to see his whole life together, but most people walked away and were like, you know what, Roop was a lover of life and always said to live life. And that's what we're going to walk away from here and do. So if it's that vacation I've been putting off, if it's that, going to, have a coffee with a friend, if it's learning a new talent, whatever it is, like, just go out and do it. Because we know that life is too short. And even if you live till 70, 80, 90, life is still too short. And so Rup would say, live life. He would say, I think it's Scott, you're getting married in is it next weekend? He would tell you, dance as hard as you can, drink as hard as you can, laugh with as many people, and just make as many memories as you can, because those memories are precious. And they were precious for Rup. Like, I always say that one of the things that got him through his years with ALS was the memories that he had made when he was, growing up and at college or working, and then the memories he continued to make, because he could draw on those on the dark days. He could go back to some of those more positive or sunshine-filled moments and draw on those for support when maybe the reality of the day-to-day was dark. And so I would say just like I said, make as many memories as you can and try and be as happy as you can, because we all deserve that.
And then also something everybody can do is, go listen to the podcast or buy a cookbook or buy T-shirts or even tell people that with ALS, to stick through it and give them that advice, give them the cookbook, give them the podcast, but then also, go support Team Gleason, go support the ALS Association, and, spread this to as many people as you can.
Now, Scott, I know you're saying we definitely will. Unfortunately, no dancing due to the ALS. I'm not sure of your situation. So if you're in a power chair, there is no reason why that power chair cannot be on the dance floor. Rup and I have done that many a time. So, just don't have any limitations, because, I would say don't have any limitations. And even if you're in a chair, then you can be comfortable in your chair and have your, wife at that point, she can dance around you. Like, there's just, use your imagination.
And then
love it.
Like wrestling official said, please buy the cookbook and make one of your favorites.
I just love you so much. I love this. You guys, I mean, now you have to. Ronan says, so now you have to. You absolutely have to do this. You have to listen to the podcast. You have to buy the cookbook. You have to buy his book. You have to buy his T-shirt, and you have to spread awareness. Straight from the mouth of Ronan himself.
Yes. And, bottom line is, like I said, we all have one life to live. And so be happy and just know that, the limitations are the ones you put onto yourself. Don't let ALS be a limitation, because it doesn't deserve that right. It absolutely doesn't.
I couldn't have said it better myself. You're so right. ALS does not deserve to get to take those moments. So fighting back. I love a girl that can call it out. So yep, Scott, you did get called out. So he will be dancing. Well, we want the updates. You two, you guys are so amazing. Please give Keaton a big hug for me. But you have raised two incredible men. Your whole family is incredible. I cannot wait. Please stay in touch. Please, you are part of the Sunflower Hour family now. So please keep us up to date on all the amazing things you are doing, because you guys are absolutely, literally changing the world for ALS, and you are helping so many people with the experience you've went through. So from the bottom of our hearts with ALS United, thank you for what you guys are doing and continue to do. Thanks for carrying on that legacy and being incredible ALS advocate warriors.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. And to anyone, that's on the call, if you need anything at all, any kind of support, then please don't hesitate to reach out, with my email or the Instagram handle, or sharing it with others. You don't need my permission. If there's somebody out there that you think we could help, or we may be able to guide, then please, feel free to give out my email or my Instagram, because like I said, the more people we can help, as well as the awareness side, it's what we're here for now.
Exactly. We're all in this family, as we say here, a family you don't ever want to be a part of. Yeah. But once you are in it, it's a family. It's a support system in itself. And I love that you have that attitude. Well, absolutely. They're shared in the comment section, everybody, her email, her Instagram, but we will also put that up in the video. I know Sam will take care of all of that, so that people will know exactly how to get in touch with you and in contact and stay up to date on all the things you're doing, and reach out if they need any help. Thank you guys so much. Is there anything you want to say before we let you go for the night?
Thanks for all the comments. I love them.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, thank you for giving us this platform to share our story, and to everyone that's been watching and listening and commenting. You know, we appreciate you, and stay strong. You know, just stay strong.
I love it. Thank you guys so much. Have a beautiful night.
All right.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Bye. Okay, that is a family of families. They are so incredible. Thank you guys for sticking with us on this journey. Make sure you reach out to them, stay in touch, find that cookbook, find that book and podcast, because they have so much incredible information. And as they both said, guys, the challenge to you tonight is please go out and live life. Do the things that you have been putting off. Tell the people you love how much you love them. Let's make the most of this incredible life that we have here. And when you do that next big, beautiful thing you've been putting off, please throw a prayer up there to Roop. I know he'd be smiling and so proud of you for doing it in his honor. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will see you guys here next week for our next Sunflower Hour Live on May 21st. Again, happy ALS Awareness Month. Love to all of you and our Sunflower Hour family. And you guys, until I see you next time, be bright and shine your light.